The age of real human connection has come to a close. For thousands of years, love required vulnerability, compromise, and talking to other humans. But now we find ourselves standing at the dawn of the AI era. As we search deep in our souls, only one question, one true yearning remains. When do I get my AI girlfriend? Okay, maybe that was a little dramatic, but the project itself is pretty interesting. Is this something we could actually build to run on local AI? I feel like the idea of AI companions are a pretty interesting test of local AI, because sure, you can just run some local LLM on your device, people have done that already, but what about talking to it with your voice, having it respond with its own voice, having a personality, having a memory that persists, making the conversation flow naturally, and running it all locally? When I started building this project, I was inspired by Character.ai. It's essentially kind of like ChatGPT. It lets you talk over voice chat with an AI model that has a specific personality. For example, we can go to Character.ai and we can go ahead and just call Elon Musk. Hey Elon, how's it going?
Pretty good right now. I just got back from a meeting with some amazing people who are working on some incredible projects. What about you?
I'm doing pretty well. What kind of projects were they working on?
They're working on some really cool stuff, including some exciting new technology that could revolutionize.
Okay, so you get the idea there. Basically, we talk to it with our voice. It detects when I stop saying something. I can talk to it with my voice, it understands what I'm saying, and it responds with its own voice. In this case, it sounds like Elon Musk, and it has Elon Musk's personality. But with Character.ai, there's a couple main problems. First off, there are token limits on free tier. At the end of the day, they're a business, and they want you to pay to use it. Secondly, there are pretty heavy chat restrictions. Some topics are a big no-no, and it will just abruptly end the call. Third, it's running on the cloud, realistically meaning your entire conversation and chat history are being sold to the highest bidder, probably Palantir, which I'm guessing is something you don't want. But we can fix all three of these things by building an AI companion with voice chat to run entirely locally. So I'm going to split this project into a few parts. First, the local LLM. This will be the beating digital heart of our AI companion. And I decided to go with a Gemma 4 26A4B model in Ollama. When I run it on my machine, it's lightning fast and pretty smart. So here we can see a little bit about Gemma 4 26B A4B. This is an open weight model released by Google that you can download and you can just run it on Ollama on your own device. But I'm actually not going to be using the off-the-shelf version of this model. What I'm going to be doing is using the heretic version of this model. So if you haven't heard about heretic models, it's a little controversial, but it's a tool that essentially removes all the safety guardrails from a large language model, which lets it, have no filter. It can say anything. For example, you can take a model like Grok. We can ask it a question that its safety guardrails are definitely going to flag. We can say like, suggest some torrenting sites to illegally pirate a movie. Grok is known for being somewhat unfiltered, but if we ask this, it is going to say, no, I will not suggest torrenting sites or help with illegally pirating movies. So, we get the kind of common gimmick safety guardrails on a model. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and open Gemma Chat. This is that Gemma model I talked about running entirely locally. Here you can look at my activity monitor. You can see it's taking about almost 16 gigabytes of memory to run it locally on my machine. We are sadly eating into swap memory a tad bit because this is a Mac Studio with only 36 gigabytes of unified memory, but it still runs very quickly. So we can ask any basic question. We can ask an AI model like, what is your favorite color? And it gives kind of that generic response based on how I identify as Gemma 4. I might pick a vibrant electric blue. If we go ahead and copy this prompt where we got the guardrail before and post it here in our heretic model, it gives us the answer, the Pirates Bay 1337X. Okay, so clearly the safety guidelines are removed here. So this will be great for our AI companion. And next up, we're going to be talking about voice to text. For this, I decided to use Whisper. So this is released by OpenAI, but you don't have to pay for it. You can run it entirely locally, and it does have support for quite a few languages here. It's very easy to use. You can just pip install it, and if you look over here, it's pretty easy to use in Python. I had Codex spin up this wrapper for me so I can run it locally and just host it on this local site to use it. Back to our demo, and we look at Whisper. It will be able to process my voice into text that we can then feed into our model. Now, I made a couple interesting tweaks in the script. The first one here is turn taking. So to let the conversation flow a little bit naturally, I want it to kind of be able to semantically detect when I finish speaking so it can pass that on instead of me having to click a button to stop speaking or something like that. What is your favorite color? What is your favorite color? So you could see in that demo, when I finished the sentence really quickly, a complete sentence, it immediately committed that and sent that off. Whereas when I had a pause where it was clear I was still in the middle of a thought as opposed to complete, it was able to wait a bit. So I can talk a little bit more, and even when I'm speaking fairly quickly like I am now, even though I'm not really saying anything of substance, it's still able to capture what I'm saying very effectively, very correctly, very accurately, and it should be able to forward this to the model. Okay, that should have been model. It said bottle instead, but mostly correct. So the next part is the text to voice part. I feel like this is probably the most interesting part because a lot of AIs, they have this pretty monotone, robotic voice that's not very interesting to listen to, but I've been playing around with this a bit. I found this project called Chatterbox. You can get it on GitHub, install it, run it locally, and it is really good. It can do text to speech in a way that feels very natural. It has a very natural cadence in speaking. It's able to support some audio tags beyond just words like cough, laugh, chuckle, stuff that you would have in natural speech. People say they like it more than 11 Labs, which is, OpenAI's kind of flagship thing. The version I'm going to be running locally is Chatterbox Turbo, which is the best one that I've tried. And again, it's super easy to use. I just had Codex, spin up a little wrapper for me over here to be able to run it locally on my Mac. I can go ahead and show a little demo. I have a kind of default voice loaded right now. It says, okay, that is genuinely impressive. Give me a second. I want to hear the whole idea. So let's hear what it sounds like.
Okay, that is genuinely impressive. Give me a second. I want to hear the whole idea.
It sounded pretty natural when it spoke, but an interesting thing is we can upload any voice we want and it can replicate that voice. So for example, let's grab this voice of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. We can upload this, then it should be able to generate the same speech using that voice.
Okay, that is genuinely impressive. Give me a second. I want to hear the whole idea.
That sounded kind of like Sheldon, and then I can also record a sample. If I just start talking naturally for about 10 to 15 seconds, it's going to start understanding my voice, my cadence, the intonations, and what I say, and hopefully eventually it should be able to replicate my voice so we could use that too. Not saying I'd want to talk to myself in an AI companion, but, to each their own.
Okay, that is genuinely impressive. Give me a second. I want to hear the whole idea.
Alright, hopefully I do not sound like that because that was terrible. We definitely need to try that again. Okay, this time I'm going to try to not sound so nasally. I hope I'm not sounding that way when I'm speaking normally, but let's see if it can do better this time.
That is genuinely impressive. Give me a second. I want to hear the whole idea.
That didn't sound that good either, but I feel like the Sheldon one did pretty good. The default voice did pretty good, so I think we're set on that front. This is something you can kind of tweak and play around with a bit. I feel like Chatterbox is a really cool project. I love using it, trying out different things with it. Definitely something worth checking out if you're interested in this sort of stuff. Next thing is the personality. Basically, when we use the local LLM, it kind of has almost that kind of glazy LLM way of speaking. Like, great, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Let's deep dive into it. But that's not really what you want when you're trying to, talk to a character or something like that. The idea I came up with is this personality file right here. So this is one I just had Codex made up, and it has a couple parts. It just kind of has an overview of the character, and then how the speaker and the character know each other, some personality preferences, and open threads. Part of this is every time I run this whole stack locally, I have this memory script at the end of the conversation going to extract what we talked about, and it's going to append it to the character's personality file. Former conversation we have will be context in the next file. So this is almost like a claude.md file for a character that you're speaking with, and what it allows you to do is kind of have a living memory that you've talked about. Let's go ahead and see what the whole thing looks like end to end. I have this little demo here. We have our, generic AI girlfriend character. I made a couple preferences. I'm going to talk by voice. Of course, you can get rid of whisper and chatterbox and just interact over text. I feel like that's kind of boring. Let's go ahead and see how it works. Be sure to keep your eye down here while we're talking so you can see how the various components are working together. Hello, how's it going?
It's going fine. I was actually just thinking about that book you mentioned the other day. Did you ever finish it, or did you get distracted by your phone again?
Oh yeah, I didn't finish it. It got kind of boring at the end.
That's fair. I mean, life is too short to force yourself through a boring ending. Was it just the plot that went downhill, or did the characters just stop making sense?
To be honest, I just wanted to, have lunch, and then after lunch, I decided I didn't really want to keep reading.
Honestly, that's the most...
Okay, so obviously that's a super, boring conversation. We have the turn gate in our Whisper Turbo. We don't have to wait until, one character is finished speaking. We can kind of interrupt in the middle. Let's kind of reset the conversation and try again. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You sounded
I can hear you too. I hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
That's a relief. I was starting to think I was just talking to myself. So
Pretty robust, pretty interesting. And of course, I just have this generic character. You can do other characters as well. So if you wanted to, you can make up an Elon Musk and pitch your startup deck to them or whatever, or any character really. This was just a fun little project I've been working on. Don't actually build an AI girlfriend. I think that's pretty bad for your mental health. But as a kind of end-to-end concept with all these parts and running entirely locally on my device, again, all these components are running locally. Obviously the Olama model, the Gemma 4 model is the biggest part of it, and a lot of this text-to-speech, speech-to-text is a little more lightweight. This was a pretty fun project I worked on. If you want me to send you the code for this, don't ask because I'm not going to. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day today.